My name is Victor Kidson, and I'm here in Swindon with Jules Moyes and Dan Willis from Neptune Project. How are you guys doing today?
Really good. Yeah, good.
How about you, Dan?
I'm good. I'm always good, even when I'm bad. Scarface quote.
How did you guys meet for the first time? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Go on.
Okay, so
Told you can do the talking.
I used to work in a gym, in a predominantly weight training gym, and I started there when I was about 15 years old. I used to make protein shakes and do the hoovering and clean the showers, all the stuff no one else wanted to do. When I was about 16, Dan started coming to the gym, and he used to have this little Sony mini disc player, and he used to have these, like the running, yeah, that one, yeah. But you switched it quite quickly after that. But that's why I remember you. That's what I remember.
This is going to be a rinsing of each other.
That's what I remember you having.
I know, you're right.
And we used to have a safety box because, like, when you come into the gym, you would give us your stuff you wanted to keep safe. We'd keep it behind the desk. So he used to come in, and this is what he used to do. He used to just go. He used to take it off and just like throw it but over the desk. Put that in the box like that. I was like, whew, okay. So I put it in the box, and I still am really.
Was it really like that?
Yeah,
okay.
That's how I remember it. Man, you were a prick. That's what I remember.
But many people will be watching this and be like, he still is.
No. This man's changed. And basically, I was in a punk band. I used to play bass in a punk band. We wrote all our own originals, and I had a bit of a grunge rock look to me. I had like the surfer beads and the crazy hair and the baggy jeans and all that sort of stuff. And I think he kind of judged me quite quickly, like, oh, this dude is not like in my ballpark, sort of thing.
It's true. It is true.
So he treated me like that, and this went on for a couple of months, and then I went into HMV, and I went upstairs, and I was really into, don't judge me, but I was really into like DJ Sammy and stuff like this.
It's a good way of starting, though. So
like Ian Van Dahl. Oh, tell me why do we build castles in the sky? And I used to love that stuff. But then that started giving me some goose pimples, and I went upstairs, and they had like a trance and electronic section, and there was this CD called Jürgen Vries, Trance Revolution. It was £18, which was the most expensive CD there. I didn't have no idea who Jürgen Vries was. It was Trance Revolution. The word trance was like, oh, that must be cool. And it was 18 quid. So I was like, for 18 quid, it's got to be good. So I bought it. And then I transferred it onto my mini disc player. I don't know if you remember mini disc players. And I listened to it every single day. And I had this, we had a 50 CD changer in the gym. So it was like house music, techno, rock. And there was like 10 free spaces. So I put the CD in. And then I was waiting for the right time, and I loved this CD, and I was waiting for the right time, and Dan came in for a workout. I'd say it's around like maybe 6:30, 7 o'clock, so straight after work sort of thing. And same thing, came in, here you go, sort of thing. I was like, here we go again.
18 years old with attitude.
And I can't remember what I was playing. I was playing like some Linkin Park or something. I was playing some rock music. And then for some reason I was like, let's put some, I got this CD, it's amazing, it suits the gym, let's just put it on. Press play, and it came on. Eventually I started on track 5 because that was my favorite track, which was Thrill Seekers New Life. And I remember he's got the Z bar. He's doing the bicep curl. I remember this vividly. Yeah. Next thing, I just see him kind of. We're at the big JBL speaker. He's looking up at the speaker, and he's looking over at me, and I'm stood there at the desk going like this. And he put the bar down. He walked over.
True. This is all true. Literally.
They had a little water dispenser where you had to pull and fill your cup up.
Photographic memory.
I've got a very photographic memory, might I say.
He just remembers a water dispenser. I mean, that's enough.
He goes over and pulls the water dispenser, and he just looks over at me and plucks up the courage to go, "This is yours." I was like, "Fuck yeah, it's mine, definitely." And then that was it. He came over. He's like, "You like trance?" I was like, "Mate, I just bought this like a couple of weeks ago. This stuff is sick. This is my favorite track." And then he walked off, and then it just went from there pretty much. And then he We started saying, "Oh, listen to this, listen to that, listen to this," and next thing you know, we ended up in Passion in Leicester.
Yeah, I was like, "Have you heard of Tiesto?" And he's like, "No," and I'm like, "You got to hear this DJ Tiesto. He's like just played at the Olympic Games, and he's just done this huge Tiesto in concert thing, and he was playing in the UK in January. I think we met in like September, October of 2004." And he was playing in January in 2015. Sorry, 2005. So we ended up like jumping on this bus because you didn't drive, I didn't drive, and we just like got this bus up to like the Passion, which is in the middle of nowhere. It was like a 4.5 hour bus journey, and yeah.
Do you remember after the gig we had to wait like 2 or 3 hours to catch the bus?
Just to get the bus back, yeah.
And we were in that toilet, and you had the hot air blower just keeping me warm, blowing it. You know the thing you dry your hands with? Yeah. It had like a directional tube, and he was like facing it this way, going, "Oh!" Every 10 seconds, for like 3 hours. We were like, "Oh my God, just kill me now."
That's how we met, pretty much.
So actually, music brought you guys together, right?
Yeah.
From the get-go.
Thank you, Darren Tate, if you ever get a chance to see this, because that CD, and I think I mentioned it to him on Facebook or something somewhere, but yeah, that CD brought us together, and there was so many great tracks on that CD. It's like Randy Katana in Silence, ATN, Mr. Day, Solid Globe, Sahara.
Calocane,
Andre Calocane, Robert Nixon mix,
Jono Grant, the Circuit.
Yeah, Jono and Mike Coughlin circuits, ATM, Mr. Day.
Yeah.
It was just Green Martian, ladies and gentlemen. It was just
tune.
it's just full of amazing.
And we
tracks.
still play those songs now in our extended set.
Right? Yeah, we could exactly.
Yeah. Every time we play it, we just kind of think, bloody hell, man, this is.
But how did you move forward from there into making your own music? I mean,
what happened was like once this connection kind of like developed, we started going clubbing quite a lot. So we went to see Tiesto, then went to see Armin in Godskitchen, then we went to Turnmills, what used to be in London, a very legendary club where every Friday you'd have trance DJs pretty much come in and playing. And then I think it was your 18th birthday, was it? I decided like.
Sound like an old couple.
17th,
right? Yeah,
17th birthday.
Sort of no, it was your 18th. I'm pretty sure. I can't remember.
17th or 18th? It's one of them two.
It was whatever birthday it was. That following year, 2005, and I think I won some poker tournament or something back then. I was just an out of control degenerate playing poker. But one day I got lucky, and
I came round to your house once and watched you like blow $2,000.
Yeah, thanks.
Oh, I gotta go in. I gotta go in with this hand. Nothing. We're like, Dan, can we? No, okay, I'll just leave you.
Hopefully, my mum doesn't see that. And, just throw me under a steamroller there, like.
It was 20 grand, but yeah, no.
I wish. Pesos?
Is that 20 quid?
Pesos? Yeah. No, so what happened was I had some winning night of poker or whatever, and I was like, it'd be cool if I got Jules some vinyl decks for his birthday and all these tracks that we were playing. So I went out and like hunted down as many of these tracks that we liked as much as I could, and surprised him with these set of decks and vinyls for his birthday present. And I think it was probably one of the best investments I've ever made in my life, looking back on it now. And that was that, when we sort of sat there in your old house, just literally like sitting down, deck there, playing the A side, spinning it over, not hearing what the B side was, but and we were train wrecking every mix.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't mix. Yeah, the beats were all over. It was just like the fact that we had these things in our hand and we were playing them and stuff. And I think what it sort of transpired of getting CD decks, and then he used to come over to where I was living at the time. I used to live in my nan's house, and it's like she had this like garage. It was just perfect for playing music because it's the middle of nowhere.
She used to keep her firewood,
right,
and everything. That smelled really old.
We used to put black bin bags on the windows to stop the light coming in at 6 o'clock in the morning. So at 8 a.m. we're still playing and it's still dark. And this went on for like 4, 5, 6 months, and
we had some legendary mixes.
Yeah, we still record our sets, and God knows where they are on hard drives and stuff. But it was him that really made the difference with where we are now. It was like, I don't want to just be a DJ. I want to start making my own tracks. And he had the initiative to just go away. And one night he came over with a CD, and he's like, "What was it? Was that track called First Fantasy or something?" It's just,
I still remember it.
Right, and I remember him coming over, and he was like, "I've just made this," and I'm like, "Huh? You made this?" And of course he mixed it, and it was just like the fact that he'd just gone away and made something that sounded like some kind of trance track. I mean, it was, no production or any kind of
Fruity Loops.
Right.
Fruity Loops.
So if it wasn't for your initiative to just not be a bedroom DJ or not just play our tracks forever and just carry on going to the shows and actually go ahead and make music, I don't think nothing would have started. So I think that whole sort of year period with decisions and birthday presents and all that kind of stuff, just massively sort of.
When I just after that, I went into town and I was learning how to drive, and I bought a BSM, British School of Motoring book that teaches you how to pass the theory test and the highway code and how to drive. And on the shelf there was like some DVD ROMs or CD ROMs, whatever you want to call them, and there was one called the Music Generator, and I was like, just what I need, right? So I picked it up off the shelf, installed it on my computer, which was like this really crappy, HP Hewlett Packard or whatever it was, I don't know. It was rubbish. It was like the Flintstones computer, pretty much. And I installed it on there, and it would allow me to have 4 tracks. One was like a drum machine, one was a keyboard, one was, 2 other things anyways. And it would, so I'd write a piano line and then it would like, it would like stutter the whole time because the computer was so rubbish. And then we started looking into it, and then I ended up with Fruity Loops. And I got that on my computer, and then I started messing around. That's where we made the first track, and then went from Fruity Loops, and then went to Reason. And when I had a big computer, my girlfriend, her parents were getting rid of their old computer, and they were like, "We're going to throw it away." And I was like, "No, that's not going to happen." So I'll have it. And I made so much stuff on that, and that's amazing for drums and bass, for the scream distortion unit and stuff. It's incredible. But I found that you couldn't add more plugins into it. And then we went to Cubase, and then we actually made Arctic Moment, what got signed to Breathe Records in the end in Germany. I did that on Cubase, and at the time we were working with a guy in the record shop we got to know quite well because we were buying a lot of records. There used to be a record shop in Swindon called Boss Tunes that used to, like the old school one, you go in, it's got the crates, and they were like, no, go check this out, this is fresh in. And you get your stack, you go up, put your headphones on, and you test every single one, and then you take the ones you like. And I remember there was a sign behind the counter, and it said mastering sessions available. So if you made your own track, we could master it, sort of thing. And then Greg used to work there, Greg Spencer, who was a part of the Neptune Project right in the beginning, who we still would like to reconnect with over time, but things just worked out differently. Life took over, and whatever happened. And I remember at the bottom it said, music. Made a track, we'll master it, and at the bottom it said, you can't polish a turd. That's what it said on the bottom.
That's so Greg though.
So basically he said, if you bring something to us, make sure it's not really shit, because if it's really shit, I can't really do much with it. And I always remembered that, and I was like, okay, I got this stuff, and I gave him some tracks, and then we ended up somehow in the studio together. And then we just kind of gelled, and then it went from there, and then Aztec was born. That was a really good time, I
really hold.
And he's an amazing engineer.
So,
like one of the most talented, just on a different level. I'm not talking about just trance music, I'm talking about just music in general.
Electronics as well, like phenomenally incredible. He's a very, very, very talented person. And we sort of really hold him close to our heart in that period when we first started working, because we didn't have a clue what we were doing with engineering or mix downs and stuff.
We fell in love with one of the tracks from the Tiesto in Concert DVD, Riley and Durant, Candesco. The one where Tiesto does the crane jump on the DVD.
fun.
And we became really good friends with Riley and Durant, and they helped us out a little bit in the beginning. And that was the first ever track I took to Greg, and he mastered and added a few bits in, and it kind of went from there. And then, yeah, it's just like you make one, and all of the tracks we made in the beginning were weak as hell. They weren't anywhere near as good as they are. Well, I still think we both know we can make better music, but it was nowhere on par at all to where it is now. It took us a while to kind of find our sound and what we liked, and me and Dan, we like tunes to get under our skin and really give you goose pimples. So when we were making tracks, that was the first thing. And still now, if me and Dan sit in the studio and we sit there and we're completely like, oh my God, we know we've got a good tune. Yeah. It's when it gives us that feeling. And it's just snowballed, and the rest is history, and here we are now
trying to, I don't know, just, we played Dream State like a few
I
weeks
want to
ago.
go back to that, actually.
Like,
I want to go back a couple of weeks to Dream State.
That was surreal, like, compared
because
when you've heard the backstory, you were talking about how we made Aztec with Polly earlier, and it was like throwing her into some vocal booth that we made and throwing over duvets, you know.
That was amazing.
Right, and it was like that whole dynamic has led into us performing at a festival, Dream State show, where there was 10,000 people there, and it's like, how did that all happen? Just hit a time machine button or something, or what?
Because usually you're the one traveling and does the DJing, but for Dream State it was the two of you, right?
Well, it's only been that way because Jules has a full-time job, and you know
I have another full-time job as well. I'm a dad.
Yeah, so
you know, I want to be there for my kids.
Yeah,
and my missus.
Promoters in the beginning of any art, it doesn't matter who the artist is. If there's a duo and they're just starting out, there's never enough money from promoters globally in all these different shows to justify 2 flights, 2 hotel rooms, 2 lots of expenses, and enough cash in the bank to make it worth our while for us to both go. So we made pretty much a sacrifice for the last year and a half, that we would just try our best to think about the business for a short term and eventually get to a place where guys like Cosmic Gate are, Super 8 and Tab are, where they are doing the shows together and they are making money from them, etc. So yeah, it was kind of like a short term loss for a long term gain, right? And
what was it like? I mean, if we go back to Dream State, then what was it like? Obviously for you and you to experience it together, and what was it like for you, Jules, to see it up close like this?
I was supposed to go to Brooklyn a few months previous to that, I think, to do a 5-hour set with Dan, and it just didn't feel right, and also some of my kids were ill and things like that, and I kind of pulled out of that, and I was gutted about it. I was kind of like, oh man, Brooklyn City, New York, all that sort of stuff. I'd never been to America. I went to America. I was in America once when we flew to Mexico a few years ago, when we first started getting into proper gigs. We touched down in Washington, but I was trapped in the airport and I couldn't get out. And you hear stories about America. I was like, oh man, gutted.
Yeah, you wanted to see it, right?
Yeah, I really wanted to see all that stuff, and but I'm glad it happened the way it did. And we had a massive epiphany in Dream State. We went upstairs on a balcony, and we thought by going upstairs on a balcony no one would notice us. We still had people. I felt bad for your girlfriend because she was sat there. She had to get up to get people in for pictures. So we're like, whoa!
My girlfriend was so patient because me and him were just literally just sat like this, like
Brian Kearney's on,
eating popcorn, kind of watching the vibe, you know, sort of like. And then people are like sort of climbing over my girlfriend, asking if they can have photos, and it's just like this sort of seat here, and it's like I felt so bad. My girlfriend just constantly kept getting up and then these people would come and sit down, and then they go and she'd come back, and it was just like repeat that process. It's like. We just wanted to just kind of, you know, I don't mind having photos with people. I think it's very touching that people want to have photos with us because of our music, but sometimes it's nice to just have a little bit of peace and quiet and watch other people
to take
perform.
It all in.
Yeah, to be able to take it all in fully, especially when you're watching John W. Fleming and Christopher Lawrence do something that's just like out of this world, you know, special and good. Yeah. And we were like, we were engaged. I was just like, this is some seriously amazing stuff that we're watching right now from, you know, 2 legends of the scene. So,
but in England, I'm not saying the scene is dead. I'm not saying that at all. but the scene is struggling.
Yeah,
you know,
Godskitchen are just doing their last event in this year, you know, and that says it all. That brand has been running for like, what, 20
Godskitchen
years?
are legendary. We were on the dance floor for all of those sets, you know, at Air, anywhere they went, we used to go. Back in the day when we were really into clubbing and just getting into the scene, and to see them dying. But we went there and I've never seen it. There were people queuing up. It was raining that day in San Francisco, and people outside like wearing next to no clothes, like queuing up, running to the front to get there. It filled up so fast. Half an hour, 45 minutes, and the bottom floor, the balcony wasn't full, but the bottom floor was pretty much full. And it was just incredible. And then, you know, it really did it for me. There was a dude I went to get a picture with. And I always do this in a show. I try to connect with people in the show. If there's someone at the front really dancing, people might notice I point a lot behind the decks. Try to catch eye contact with one person and just go, yeah, I'm with you, mate. That's what I'm trying to do. And there's about 3 of you. I'm with you, mate. I'm with you. You know. And I used to do that when Armin used to play, because we were massive Armin van Buuren fans. I would stand front and center, and the whole goal dancing was for Armin van Buuren to look me in the eye and just go, yeah, I got you there, mate. You know, and that's one of the main reasons why I used to just stay on that floor. And anyone watching this who goes clubbing, I'm sure they all do exactly the same thing. To have someone in a sea of thousands of people lock onto you and just go, yes, makes you feel like freaking amazing, you know. So I do that, and there was a couple of guys. There was a guy dancing at the front who was wearing a red shirt with the big glasses, and I went and said hello to him afterwards. But there was a dude in a wheelchair. Is it Jose? I think his name was.
You spoke to him, didn't you?
Yeah.
So, yeah,
And they were holding him up. He was in his wheelchair, and they were holding him up in the middle of the crowd. And I was like, Jesus Christ, that's like proper commitment. And we went the day before, and this dude, I saw him. He was right at the back because he couldn't get into the front. Because he was there early, he got in the middle and they started holding him up. And then I went and found him in the crowd afterwards to just say, dude, like, thanks a lot for the support, and like, incredible you being in there with all those people. And then I got down on one knee, I got a selfie with him. And he then said to me, he's like, you guys are the reason why I'm here this early. It's like, when I heard you guys were opening, I had to be here for this. And he said, the only reason why I got into the middle is because I got there early before loads of people came in. He said, if I go in there now, I wouldn't be able to do it. So it was a really special moment. And that was just like, a few years ago, me and Dan, we kind of started losing our way. We were thinking, is this really worth it? And now, seeing people like that, and there was loads of people there that we met, it was just like, oh my God, there are people that actually appreciate what we do. And it's just a really nice feeling. It motivates me massively to keep doing it. And, you know, there's massive things going on in the music industry. People are saying, oh, bands are coming and going because there's no money and record labels and stuff like this, which is kind of true. That's why people are constantly on tour. It's the only way for them to make money. But, yeah, having that for me, because we never started this to become rich and famous. We started this because we wanted to share our interpretation of this is what we make. We hope you like it. To see people connect to it, it's like massive buzz for us. So, and obviously that helps to keep it afloat, but it's not everything. And it's things like that hopefully over time will happen more and more and more.
Like I said earlier to you, the money, I see it is just a vehicle to allow us to do more. Like, if we break down that financial barrier that's holding us back, because that's what it is. What's holding us back from making more tunes is that financial barrier. Once that's broken down, which, as you know, it will be broken down from what's coming, we can make so much more music. And that excites me. I think it excites you as well.
It's good for the community.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
If we go back again to the beginning, what was it like? We touched on it a little bit before, but what was it like to see Aztec take off like it did?
Oh, dude, seriously.
Were you aware of, or when were you aware of the fact that it really took off?
Do you remember when? Well, basically what happened, I made this track. I was listening to a track by Activa called End of Summer. Amazing tune. And he's got this really simple dun 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 dun, and that's it. It just goes throughout the whole track. I loved it so much. We had a Virus TI Polar, a brand new nice looking keyboard. I started playing around on that, and I came up with something that was kind of similar, but rather than being 2 chords, it ended up being 4 chords. And then I made this track. It came really quick. Literally within 2 hours, I had a breakdown. I had this pluck. I did a little bit of drums and stuff in the background. And I took it to Dan, and Dan was like, oh my God, that's amazing. We can add this and this and this. Then we went to the studio with Greg. We came up with a big...
My finest moment.
We did that on acid. we did that acid on the... He had a big keyboard, the full version. And we did it on that, but it still had something missing. And I lived, my missus, remember we had the studio downstairs in the dining room at the time. And then Polly came over and she sung, and she did so many takes. And that little bit you hear in the song was just her messing around. She was singing some words before and after, and she did a little, did a little bit of things like that in the middle. And then I was like, oh my God, that's it. And I chopped it, and then we moved it around, and then I played it to you guys, and like, that's it. We don't even need words. We just need to put that in there. And then it was still pretty rough. And then we went back to Polly, and then she came in and she sung those on purpose to do a better job. And we put it out there. And I'm being honest with you, I kind of got sick of it. Because we were listening to it over and over and over again. So many times.
That's a problem that a lot of producers have. When you're creating a track and you're hearing that loop on even when it begins as the loop kicking the bass, and then hearing that loop, and then it builds more, and you hear that loop more. But you end up hearing that track so many times. So after finishing it, your ears are just dead to it every time.
And then Dan and Greg emailed it out to all of the guys. Armin was on the list. And we were nobody. We were thinking, Armin's not going to pick that up.
I think. Do you remember when we were in Gatecrasher and we got an opportunity to speak with Armin? And
how can I forget?
I never forget this because
there's a picture of it floating around.
Yeah, it was strange because he played this like amazing set, and it was like he played for like 3 hours or something, and we were through knowing Riley and Durant, we were somehow ended up
we're in a VIP room. Woo! First time. We were like, oh my God!
VIP room, and Armin came up after his set, and I remember I went to sort of say something to him and said that was an amazing set, thank you so much. And there's a sort of girl there, and she sort of turned around to me and she was like, I'm talking to him right now. And I'm like, oh, okay, like kind of walked off a little bit like okay. So, and the next thing I know, it's like a few seconds later, I get this tap on my shoulder and I turn around and it's Armin. And he said, hey man, I'm really sorry, I don't know who that was, and I just wanted to come and apologise about that. And I was just a bit sort of taken back, and I said,
like, who the hell,
yeah,
why does Armin have to come and apologise for strangers?
It's really nice how he sort of handled that situation, and he spoke of us for a few minutes, and we said that we just started producing and so on and so on. And I remember the last words Jules said was, one day you'll play one of our tracks on your radio show. And Armin said, yeah, he said, I look forward to it, guys. And I was just like wondering, like, that'll probably never happen, sort of thing. But
it did.
It happened, and
I don't even think he probably won't remember us from that, and he probably won't even remember that conversation.
The only way he remembered that is if he remembers the girl being really rude, being like, I was talking to him, and then sort of that sort of dynamic. But yeah, I mean, that I always remember your words, and you were. But for it to have transpired where we would have been happy, and we would have been so happy just to have had one play on A State of Trance. Just that recognition that we've made something that's good, and it could be appreciated by someone like that. That was like one of our inspirations, one of our sort of idols back then. That was all we were looking for with our production. For it to ended up like his favourite track of the year. It was like.
So I remember trolling through YouTube, looking at Armin van Buuren videos of him playing around the world. He was playing in South America somewhere, I can't remember, and it was filmed on a really bad phone, and this was back in 2009, so camera phones were nowhere near the way they were now, and it was really pixelated, and the sound quality was really like not how it is now.
It's the sub coming through. So
yeah, it was farting, that. And it was a massive screen, and it had Armin van Buuren's face on it, and it was massive. And then after that, it got to the breakdown, and I heard the strings and ooh, so I hearing all that stuff, and then I was like, oh my God, it's my song. And I got the headphones on. I got goose pimples all over. I was just like, oh my God, he's playing Aztec. I was like calling you, Dan, check this out. And then we messaged him and he didn't even tell us, but he was playing it in every set. And he was like, oh my God, I'm playing this everywhere. This is amazing. It takes the roof off. And then like, was it 3 or 4 weeks later, he did it, actually played it on a State of Trance's radio show. And then he say, this takes the roof off every time I play it.
It was a tune of the week, I think, or something like that.
And for 6 months straight, he pretty much, for every set, he played it. And we went to one of his celebrations at State of Trance 300 or something like that, I think it was.
Yeah, that was a really cool moment, actually.
And we were stood on the dance floor
was with us as well.
Yeah.
And we were all on the dance floor together. And
was Polly there?
No, Polly was supposed to come, but she couldn't
make it, I remember.
But he played it because he did like I think he did 3 shows. He did like a night in Germany, then it was in Birmingham, and then it was in then it was the Sunday night was in Rotterdam. I think it was in Rotterdam. So I was thinking to myself, he played it on the Friday in Germany, and I was like, now that he's played it in Germany, he's probably not going to play it like the next night. He played it again in the UK when we were all on the dance floor, which was just so amazing. And then he played it again on the Sunday night in Rotterdam, and he mixed one of our favourite remixes that he's ever done into it, like Mugwai Viola, Armin van Buuren remix. So to hear like, I think it was Mugwai first, then Aztec. So at the point when he's playing viola, I'm listening to it live and I'm like, I just love this track so much. And then he mixed Aztec into it and I've just lost my mind. I'm just like, it's just not happening.
He was our massive inspiration, definitely. I remember my 19th birthday, we went on a road trip. Do you remember that? And we saw him 3 nights in a row. We saw him Friday night in Turnmills, the gallery, not Ministry of Sound, the old Turnmills, the old dirty club. That was amazing. And you could get to him because he had to go through the club to get to the booth. And that was the best thing about Turnmills. You would meet DJs because they had
on the way to.
Yeah, I mean, we got signed stuff. Ferry Corsten. We used to be that person banging on the window. We love you.
I remember taking Guriella, a copy of Guriella to Ferry, and he was on the champagne. And like, I took like 5 vinyls for him to sign, and I was sort of somehow managed to like get my phone and write, "Would you please play this?" on my phone, and held it up to this little tiny square in the DJ booth window, and it was like, you know, sort of moving Guriella across the window so we could see what it was. Please. And he was like, he looked at it and he was like, yeah, okay, and he took my vinyls from me and put them at the back, and then I saw him take Guriella out of it and he put it onto the turntable, and it was so funny because I'm like, oh my god,
who's gonna play it?
He's gonna play my copy of Guriella, and I remember him sort of in the headphones, and next thing I know, he just like pulled it off and just sort of threw it over there, got some CD and put the CD back in, and then just mixed in Guriella Tenchi, and I was like, no, I was like, that was so close. I was like, that was the moment where Ferry played Guriella, and I remember at the end of the night he signed it and he wrote all across the vinyl. It's like, I'm really sorry I didn't play this tonight. All the best, Ferry Corsten. You know, it's just really those moments like that just were so sort of special back then, and you got the opportunity to like meet some of these people really quickly and have a little photo with them and stuff. But that meant so much to us sort of back then, those times.
And that's why we have a lot of time for when people do that with us.
Because you know how much it means, right?
We were those people, and we still are. I mean, we met Paul van Dyk last week, and I was just in awe. I was just like, and I tried my best not to be that person who went, mate, I really love your music. Like, seriously, you've done so much for me. Like, you have no idea. Seriously, like, I love, like, meeting an actual DJ that we used to play was like, that was amazing. So even if they didn't speak to you and they just shook your hand, it was just like, wow, incredible.
Proper fanboys. Right, yeah, pretty much. But yeah, it was just like Jules said, it was like, you know, sometimes it can get overwhelming. At Dream State, we were kind of bombarded with people left, right, and centre. You know, wanted photos, and on the Sunday after I played, I sort of had a Saturday where a lot of that was happening, and I was speaking to a few artists and people backstage. I didn't really get enough time to spend with my girlfriend. On Sunday, I was like, I really want to just enjoy myself today with my girlfriend, just, you know, with her the whole time and with you. But it's hard because if you want to go out and enjoy things on the dance floor and just sort of be kind of left alone at times, it doesn't work that way, because people then, once a couple of people sort of recognise you or something, then that you get, you know, it's we don't,
Snowball, isn't it?
so hard, yeah.
Who's that?
Right, and then
Neptune
other people
Project.
start looking, and it's, you know, it's kind of hard because we don't want to not be on the dance floor because that's what we're used to. We came from the
It
dance
sounds
floor.
rubbish backstage.
Right, yeah. There's no atmosphere.
Yeah.
It's just like meeting people that can be actually really boring at times because, you know, it's sometimes that backstage environment is just so boring. It's very egotistical at times. It's not us.
It's like top
you know?
trumps.
Right. It's like who.
Oh, anything you can do, I can do better.
Right. Yeah.
I can do anything better than you.
It's like everyone's.
We're out. I'll see you
Loads
later.
of bitching and did you hear about this? Did you hear about that? Or he's, you know, and it's like we just want to go and enjoy ourselves and still be part of that crowd. But it's like I said, it's sometimes it can be a bit hard.
And it's cool. Like every show I've done, there are people that blatantly recognise us, but there's some of them come and ask for a picture, but most of them just kind of look over and just go.
Yeah,
And then they keep dancing. They know you're there.
They know, yeah.
And they're like, "How cool is that?" He stood there with a drink in his hand. He says, "Oosh,
Yeah.
oosh, oosh, oosh." And you know what? We'll just leave him to it. But it's so cool. I could go home and say I danced next to those guys, you know? And I could see it because people look over and they kind of go, you know, the gym nod. You know, like when you got your MP3 player on, and you don't say a word, but you see someone you know, and you just do that.
Yeah,
And that
just
means
like-
that you acknowledge. You know,
I think the best place to
that's
hear,
what the world's coming to, by the way. People just do that.
especially a dream state, the production and the setup, the best place to enjoy that is right in the middle of the dance floor. That's the sound is designed to
And the visuals.
Right. It's like so
You ain't gonna get that if you're in the front. If you're in the front. If you're on the balcony.
If you're on the side.
Oh my god. It's
yeah,
incredible.
so it's always very humbling for us when we meet people. Like, and I always say to people, this is the one thing I try to say to as many people as I can. Thank you so much for all the kind things you say, all the support you give us, because we cannot do this without you. You guys are the reason that we can do this, and that's the truth.
Power to the people.
And that's the same with any artist. If you haven't got anyone supporting you, what do you have? Nothing. You know, you just have yourself and your own ideas, but no one's hearing it because you don't have anyone that, you know, supports and appreciates you. So
No, it's fine.
so it's for us. It's important that people know how much we really care about them, and it means a lot to us. Everyone that supports us.
If people didn't reach out to us, we probably would have given up a long time ago.
You think?
That's the honest truth. For me, anyways, just to know that people are like, "Where's the new track?" Oh,
Yeah,
we
they
love
appreciate.
it.
Yeah, they show appreciation on what you
Yeah,
do.
that really kept us going because we've had some times where we thought, like, let's just call it a day, because the industry, some things are so backward in the industry, things that should be so simple, which is why this year is exciting because, like we've already spoken about, you know, it was just so many things that we saw that were just not about. It was just not about the music. It's all about these other things, and it's like we just want to make music. That's all we want to do. We don't care about the politics. We don't care about the who's here, who's there. You can't.
Oh,
do
please
this
vote for me on the
because
DJ
of
mag.
that. Right.
No, we ain't taking part in that.
You can't do this because of that, and you can't do this here because of him, and there's over there, and it's just like, you know, there's a reason why Paul van Dyk's album is called The Politics of Dancing, because it's very, very, very true album name.
If we go back to that, the appreciation and the music itself, like the productions, after Aztec, you guys released the actually very, very personal Lost All My Tears.
Yeah.
Which is actually a very touching track,
Yeah.
and it's a lot about you, right?
Yeah, it's a very personal moment made public, and it took me a very long time to come to terms with things. And
Was the track a part of?
yeah, massively. I mean, I've cried on stage. I can't even count how many times. Every time we play that track, most people don't see it, but it's a very strong moment for me where I kind of get to. It's hard, you know, because it's sad when you lose someone. But it's nice when you remember them, you know. But it's even more when that song hits. I remember what I went through when I wrote it, where I was, what I was doing. Dan's really said I've got a very photographic memory. I can remember things really clearly from what was on the walls or how things looked and everything. It just puts me, and I find that's with any piece of music, you know. So like I can listen to like Linkin Park, and one of my favorite bands ever is Limp Bizkit. And Limp Bizkit did a kind of album called Results May Vary. And when my dad was...
because Lost All Your Tears is about your father, right?
Yeah, it's about my dad, yeah. And before I went to my dad's funeral, I went to... So it takes about 10 days after the death until, they lay them to rest. And I bought this album, Limp Bizkit, called Results May Vary. And it's got a track called Build a Bridge. And I really connected to that. And every time I hear those songs, I'm back in that car, being driven around with my friend who's trying to comfort me. Smells, sights, everything's the same, So, and I'm sure most people, if like in Ibiza, if people are at Cafe Mambo and the sun's coming up and a certain song's playing,
they'll connect to that.
Every time they hear that song, I'm back in that spot.
Yeah.
That's why whenever Lost in My Tears gets played, for me in particular, I'm back in that place where it's just there's so much happiness, sadness, nervousness. It's just a sea of emotions for me. So,
what was it like to record? Like the vocals for that, because you're actually pretty much singing straight out of your heart, right?
I'm just going to cut in here because I think the fascinating thing about that was one take.
And I know I could sing it better, but I'm glad that Dan didn't let me re-record it because I think it would have lost its emotion. And one of my favourite singers in the world is Bob Marley. I love reggae music. It's something that, where I'm from anyways, back home, it's something we listen to on a daily basis. And Bob Marley is not the most technical singer, but he's got soul in his voice, So he won't do the whole vocal gymnastics like Jessie J will do and all this sort of stuff. But when he sings, it's like, oh my God. And that was my goal every time, is to not be a technical singer, but try to sing with some heart and passion. And I think it came across in that song. And
you think?
Yeah.
I mean,
basically that night I was supposed to go with Dan to Alexandra Palace.
Yeah, Above and Beyond.
50?
Group Therapy 50.
It was there when they they kind of transferred from Trance Around the World to Group Therapy. It was their 50th show, and Dan was like, "Are you going to come? Are you going to come?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't really know if I can make it." And it just so happened that I couldn't leave because my missus was going out or something. I couldn't remember what it was. So I went to, at the time Dan had a flat, and in his bedroom we moved the studio into there. And I said to him, "Right, you go to Above and Beyond tonight. I'm going to go to the studio and I'm going to finish some tracks," which is quite a normal thing for us. And we were working on this track. It was an original anyways. And it wasn't supposed to be a vocal track. It was on, what date was it? It was definitely in October because my dad's anniversary. I hate Halloween. 31st of October is the day. Early hours that morning is when my dad passed away. So for me, I don't really trick or treat. It's like, that's not even in my vocabulary right now. So it was 2 or 3, it must have been a week before. It was in the 20-something of October or something like that. And I get a little bit weird around about that time. I kind of go into my own shell and I start playing lots of Enigma and lots of music that my dad used to play and stuff, and to kind of remember him, because as time goes on, sometimes you do learn to shelf that part, and it's, for me, I want to try to remember him as much as possible. And I remember I was in the studio and I just didn't even press play. I loaded up this project and I was just sitting there and I was just thinking about stuff, and I just started crying for some reason. And sorry, real men do cry. And I was thinking, Dan's having a great time tonight. What am I doing here? I'm sitting here feeling sorry for myself, crying. And I looked up and I had this project in front of me, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to set a microphone up and I'm going to sing what I'm feeling right now. And that's what it was. And I felt lost without him here. But I don't really feel any fear. I'm not really scared. And I've lost all my tears. I got to the point where I was crying for about 5 minutes. I couldn't cry anymore. I was just kind of like, well, I'm out. I've lost all my tears crying for you. And I was just like, shit. Okay.
I think there's just something so...
And I'm lost. I just did it in the microphone. And if you listen very closely, you can hear my voice kind of cracking in the lost bit. Like, kind of like, when you listen to a 14-year-old boy who's just growing some balls, like... when you take all the reverb off, you'll hear it. It's not actually that nice to listen to, but when you put the reverb on it and you put it in with everything else, it sounds really good. And I remember I texted you, I said, I've added something to the track. I don't know if you'll like it. I hope you do. And then he got back the next day and you listened to it. And he was just like, oh my God, this is incredible.
Just knew it was going to be.
And I was like, it's really rough. I want to re-record it. And then straight away he's like, no, not re-recording it. I'm going to leave it the way it is. And yeah, that was just really, I think it was almost 10 years since my dad had passed away. And then I was like, well, I'm just going to let it out.
For me, what that shows is that he's got so much creative talent to just think of that on the spot and just write what was one of the most played and popular tracks of 2014. Was it 14 it came out? Yeah, 14 it came out.
It's quite old now.
In the space of like 5 minutes, just off a feeling, and get out and sing there one take, and that's the final vocal on the track. It's just, for me, that's really, really incredible. How
Thank you.
that came about. Like, when you look at the process of vocalists and, you know, sitting down and writing a track, and a writer sits there and pens lines, and then it goes back and scribble lines out, and then a vocalist goes into the studio and sings it. You know, sometimes things can just come out of, you know, an emotion.
But it's personal stuff. I tend to find that people never really argue with. It's when you try to force things, and I've been writing songs for a long, long time. A lot of them people will never hear. Some of them turn into gems. And I've done everything where you sit down and you write, okay, I'm going to write about love. You put a bubble around it, this thing of everything that's related to love, relationships, this, that. And then you write lyrics and you try to put every word into it in some way, shape or form. And then when you play it to people are like, nah, it just ain't right. But if you have something, like if you've been in a really bad relationship or someone's broken your heart and you just say it the way it is, most people are like, wow, that's powerful. So I think, I said in an interview we did, that 4-hour mix, like music for us, these things have happened to us in our life. There's always a story behind every track. And that's the reason why, and I'm just putting it out there, that's the reason why we don't make, well, at the moment, I mean, we've got so much stuff to bring out this year that I think we're going to blow every other year out of the water. Yeah. But previously, we've been quite slow because we don't want to put something out there unless it's a real gem. And yeah, maybe that was the wrong way because people every 6 months they're like, oh, Neptune Project, who are they? Oh, they're back. You know, whereas some other guys every month are putting a track out there. But every track we've put out is really strong in our opinion.
Right. I think it's like I said to you earlier, the quality over quantity process seems to have worked for us. Because if you compare, you know, look at our DJ schedule, our touring schedule in terms of how many gigs we're doing, the countries we're playing in, and you look at the number of tracks we've actually released versus a lot of the other artists that are doing the same shows and playing in the same locations, some of them have probably made 2, 3, 4, 5 times as many tracks as us in that same period, you know, so it does feel like we do have a very good quality sort of process with our music to be able to be competing with those, you know, in those areas with a hell of a lot less tracks.
But for me, my dad passing away, I was 16 years old, my dad had a massive heart attack. 3 in the morning, that's when it happened. And I worked at Tesco's, I stacked shelves when I was 16, I made about £300 a month. And he was marching around upstairs, holding his arm. My dad had arthritis in his left hand, in his left wrist. So he was holding his arm like, oh, my arthritis is really playing up. And my dad was a vegetarian, so he had really bad indigestion. Sometimes when he eats a lot of salad, he used to get that. So he had indigestion and the pain in the arm. And for us, we were just like, oh, he's having problems with his arthritis. He's having problems with his digestion. But it wasn't. That was actually, heart attack was happening, but it was masked. And then when that happened, and that was horrible. And I mean, like, you know, there's certain things if people ask, I'll tell them, like what I went through. But I watched one of the people I care about the most die in front of me, you know, and that's going to haunt me, or to the day I die. I'll never ever forget that. But if that hadn't happened, would we be here? You know, because I was in a punk band and we were good. I'm not blowing my own trumpet, but we were good, and we had people saying like, oh my God, you guys are going to make it. This is going to be amazing. And I've still got some of the MIDI discs now that we made. And I quit the band. I got 2 older brothers. They had already moved out and started drinking to like mask their pain. I was only 16, so I stayed at home. I slept in the same bed as my mum for a couple of months because she would just cry herself to sleep every single night. I had to man up. Seriously, I had to man up, you know. All my dad ever said, my dad worked around the ocean all of his life because I'm from a little island and we're really into that. And my dad always said to me, if you find something you love, work never feels like work.
Yeah.
So that's why he, you know, and my dad would go away for 2 months sometimes, you know, and he would come back and he made good money, you know, but he loved doing that. And I loved my dad being happy. So after he passed away, it's kind of like, I can't ask him, Dad, am I doing the right thing? I just have to think to myself, what would he think? What would he want? And I constantly got that going, just do something you love. Because if you do something you love, then work never feels like work. So I started,
quote.
I've always done martial arts, and you know, for the people that don't know, that's something that I do in my spare time to pay the bills. And I really love it. I really do like it. I teach people, you know, I teach kids how to be more confident, how to stand up to bullies. I teach adults how to be a little bit fitter, or how to defend against if 3 people jump you in a nightclub. I've got people that win gold medals, children that are going and competing around the world, winning gold medals, silver medals, the lot. I get that. But the music at the same time has always been that passion of mine as well. And the reason why I'm pursuing it constantly, I don't really tell a lot of people, is I've got that little voice in the back of my head going, that's what you need to do. Because that, I'm being honest with you, that's all I'm good at.
No,
I'm no good at anything else. I'm good at teaching people martial arts and physical stuff. I'm a teacher. I like to teach people. So whether it be teach them martial arts or teach music, because that's another thing. I would like to become a music teacher. Maybe when I'm old and grey, I'll be that person sat behind a piano going, yes, from the top, go again, yeah, and just playing. I can see that happening. But that was a really tragic part of my life. And some people either roll over and admit defeat and kind of go, that's it, I give up. Like, my dad's never going to give me approval. Or you can pick yourself up and dust yourself off and just be like, you know what, I'm going to get on with this. And I'm going to use their words as fire in my belly. And I'm going to keep going. So, you know, it's all horrible saying this has happened. And I'm sure I know some children that have lost their parents way younger than 16. You know, 5 years old, a little boy lost his mum to cancer, you know, one of my students. I was like, oh my God, that a kid can't even, it's just learning how to like use a toilet and stuff, you know, and it's crazy. So I'm not looking for any sympathy or anything like that, but it's like, you can turn that into a positive thing. And that's what I think I've done, or we've done at least. So, yeah,
No, I think
that's where I'm at.
That track was definitely your baby, like 100%. Like you, that vocal is what really makes the track so special. I think, you know, the other parts are really nice and stuff, but it's the vocal that makes that track special.
And in years to come, I think I would do a new version of that, and maybe make it more guitar and more like an ambient version, because I love that sort of stuff as well. So I think in years to come we can bring that back around. But I've got some tracks. I've written some music about Dan. I've written some music about his previous relationships.
Yeah, that's sort of a new track coming up right now, right?
Yeah.
Is that you're a vocalist for that as well?
Yeah, as long as everyone likes it. And most of the tracks we've done, it started off as me. Like the inside was me.
Yeah, and then you did it with Polly, right?
Yeah. Raya, we did with John O'Callaghan, was me.
Polly sang for that one as well.
Yeah, that was me. There's been a small handful that are Polly's vocal that we just felt at the time, or more so Dan, and I trust Dan because Dan's in the scene. He's the one that introduced me properly to trance, you know. So his head's really in it. He kind of said like, nah, it needs to be a female vocal. It needs to be more angelic rather than something a bit more raw. So, because my voice is suited only to certain tracks. I mean, like, look at Ocean Lab, you know, if there was a man singing Clear Blue Water, it probably would be done.
That's an interesting
Clear blue water, oh, I'm out, done. So it'd be a little bit different. So, yeah, the new one, Dan was in a relationship for a long time. That kind of slowed us down a little bit as well, because you know, you do what you do when you get into a relationship. You kind of just I don't want to say under the thumb, but it kind of is. You know, you end up just doing everything with that person. It hurt our relationship a little bit. I'll never forget the day he told me he was moving away. I was just like, what? You moving away? I knew we weren't going to see each other. And that happened, and he came back. We tried to write a song ages ago and about it, and he typed up some notes. And this song, it doesn't sound anything like it, but to me it means what he went through. Like, basically it's about seeing the light. And Dan...
No, coming out of something that you've been stuck in.
Dan saw the light.
Yeah.
But he just was so infatuated by this person that I remember he came to Swindon. I remember I was teaching and he called me up and said, I'm at the train station. And this is like an hour away from where he lived. And it was over. It was over. I'm done. So we went to the Sir Dan's Arms.
She'll probably watch this at some point down the line.
I don't care. She needs to know. She needs to know. We went to the Sir Dan's Arms, which is a pub in town, and we sat down and had a pint. And I was kind of thinking, oh man, this is really bad. But then, you know, oh mate, I'm really glad you're starting to get things clear. And I was a little bit happy. I'm not going to lie. I was a little bit happy.
That he was back, right?
Yes, I get my mate back. And then she calls, and then he starts going into the whole text thing. And later on that evening, he's like, yeah, I'm going back to London. We're getting back together. And I was thinking, oh, shit.
Relationships are never easy, right?
No. And that bought him another few months. And then he's back again. Oh, away again. It's like, oh, here, boy, fetch. Woo, come back. Good boy, go fetch.
But I think in all fairness.
And he saw the light in the end.
I think in all fairness.
And that's what that song's about. I'm not giving anything away, but you'll have to listen to it.
I think in all fairness, there's been times where you've been driving things forward and I haven't been there, and then I've been driving things forward and you haven't been there, and it's like...
And then there's time where we're both driving at the same time.
There's times when, like, right now, we're both sat in that, you know, cockpit of the spaceship, just okay, we're ready, we're you know, and I think life just throws things at you at different points that you try to manage the best you can. And I sort of went through that whole period, sort of that relationship, just kind of naturally lost my way of music. It wasn't like I just suddenly made a decision, right, I'm giving up music, I'm not doing it anymore,
and we never said that.
Right, and it was...
But it was hard.
It took me a year to get over that breakup. It messed my head up so much, and it really did. And then it got to a point where I thought, well, what was I doing before I met this girl? And it was like music, like it was putting out, we were doing so much music together, weren't we? We were finishing tracks and getting tracks done. It's like, right, I know in my heart of hearts that we can make that happen again and we can do that again, and it's just a case of doing it. And it was at that point, I'm just like, right, I'm going for it now. I'm just, no distractions, you know, just I'm all in. I want to get this to where I know I can get it to. And I think having that drive and that fire in me again it's strange because people say, oh, you know, you made this comeback, and I always hear this word like comeback, and you guys are
we
back.
We didn't go anywhere.
But it was like, well, what do you mean by comeback? You mean we started making tracks again? Because we didn't have any DJ gigs until that point. Last year we did 45 gigs, and that was our first year where we ever had anything over like 5 or 6 gigs in terms of volume. So really I sort of see like last year is when it all really began. That was the start for us, right, in terms of how things are at now.
How is it looking future-wise right now?
Scary in terms of...
It's exciting, it's nerve-wracking, it could go anywhere. Right now, and we hope it goes in the direction where me and Dan can do this more full time. Well, Dan, or me in particular, I have a lot of boxes that I need to tick. I need stability. I've got a mortgage to pay. I've got kids to feed and things like this. I don't want to throw that out there because we all have problems, but it's the music. With the way we've been in the past, it's been very up and down. Sometimes you get gigs, so you get paid a bit of money. You can go 6 months to a year without getting one, you know? So I need to rely on something, and that's the job of, over the last few years, things have become a little bit more stable. We've made a bit of a name for ourselves. We don't see ourselves as, you know, big deals.
You're becoming stronger.
I think that this is why the platform exists. This is why I said about the platform earlier.
Platform, yeah.
Right, because what he's just said there is purely the reason why I came up with it. Because it's like, what can I do to get Jules into a position where we can do this full time together? And that was the answer that I came up with. We can carry on earning. Like, we did 40 odd gigs last year. Is he still in a position where he can? Has that position changed? No, it hasn't. So DJ gigs aren't obviously, yes, they can increase, our fees can increase, but having that alternative solution is what is going to be able to allow us to really, really, really take things to the next level. And I'm 100%.
We know that we haven't even scratched the surface when it comes to what we could create, because I'm creating music, for maybe 6-7 hours a week in my spare time. Imagine if I sat in the studio at 9, I take the kids to school, I'll get home, right, let's go. And I sit there and I just make music straight for 8 hours. I know personally, I can make an album. I can make 20 tracks in maybe 6 weeks if I sit there and just go for it.
I think it really is scary what we could achieve.
We haven't even done that yet. We've got to here based on us not even trying yet.
Well, it's not so much not even trying. It's a case of
from my perspective,
we've got to where we are by how we've done it. We've tried our best to get to where we are with the financial circumstances. You have a family and all that kind of stuff.
And we can't change that, and I never will blame my family for any of that, because I love them dearly. But
if we can get past that financial barrier that's blocking us from being able to do music full time, I think it's really, really, really going to be really interesting what we can do together moving forward. Because I like to think that we are able to carry on making the same quality of music and just be able to make more of it. And that's exciting.
And if ever we exhaust that, which ain't anytime soon, but if we ever did, then we move into another genre, and maybe not
like ambient music.
Ambient music is something we love.
I think trance music is always going to be there, but it's a case of where does the industry go, given the fact that this whole EDM boom's going on, and this Vegas and its table service, and trance has gone much more underground, and clubs are closing in the UK. It's like it's booming in some countries and declining in others, and it's like it's interesting how things are going to sort of pan out. We don't really know that, so it's almost like you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket completely. Yeah, we can carry on making trance because that's what we love. But if there's a time that comes where trance isn't popular anymore, and we don't want to go and make another genre of music that we don't connect to, which is popular, we can go to doing something like ambient based. And
because if you was to take our tracks and strip out the kick drum and all that stuff, it's pretty much ambient music.
Yeah.
The amount of times we make a track, we don't even worry about the intro. We just start from the strings, right. And we've got a couple of ambient tracks we've already done. If in the future album opportunities come up, that would be featured on there. No beat, just like Africa. Yeah, we've got like some South American style flutes going on, and like all of the raindrops in the background, and it's. I could listen to that all day, every day.
And you can create that all day, every day as well, which is what's interesting.
That is like, oh my God, but it's a bit slower. Even if you double it up, it's still not even going to be at the right beat. And I think as time goes on, we'll be allowed to showcase more of that side of what we're into. I think that's the exciting thing. Like, we look at some of the other artists in the industry, and some of them
Beyond have done it. For instance, look at Group Therapy. There was 4 ambient sort of style tracks on that album. Film It, Eternal, Sun in Your Eyes, it might have been one other, but just that vibe.
And that showcases their musical ability, and Jono and all those guys that, we spent some time with them. Dan knows some of them really well, and they are proper musicians.
Yeah.
They're proper musicians.
Absolute class musicians.
I see myself as a musician. I don't see myself as a trance DJ as such.
Right.
I mean, I started playing the triangle and the snare drum when I was 3 years old to old people. I'll never forget the smell of piss, that day. Yeah, the Sunnydale. Any saints watching this? Sunnydale, you remember that place, right? That was me. Kumbaya, my lord. Kumbaya ding, ding. 1, 2, 3, 4, ding. Every first beat. And I'll never forget that. And that, you know what that taught me? It taught me rhythm. Every song you listen to is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I learned to play, I played piano, and then I played drums, and then Guns N' Roses were massive. So all I wanted to be was Slash. I learned to play guitar. And that's it still now. I love it. If I go into a music studio and I see a drum kit, I have to go sit behind it and have a little play. And then, key. Like in the school that I teach, they've got a big old piano. And when everyone leaves, I sit there and I just play. I freaking love it. It's amazing. You know, that's how I wrote one of the songs. It hasn't got a vocal to it. It's the big riff. I wrote it on that piano in that school. That I was just messing around. So and that for me, I think that's something that we can definitely showcase more. And there are a lot of artists that are doing that. But a lot of the DJs we hang around, they're producers. They sit and they move things around to make it sound good. They can't just sit there with a piano or with a triangle like me and just like, you know, create a track. And I think, yeah, for me, a lot of the songs, sometimes I'll start it in guitar and then I'll transpose that onto a piano. But the amount of times we're working on a track and we kind of hit rock bottom and we're like, I got no more ideas. I'll just put the piano up and I'll start messing around. And then I'd be like, yeah. Dan will be like, yeah, that's it. And then we'll change that around. So for me, the piano in particular, and I got that from my dad. My dad used to play the piano. He had a really good ear for music. And when my dad used to be home, because he used to be away on the ship, he used to sail a lot. He'd come back. I remember I used to come home from school and I could smell the food because my dad was a really good cook, so he'd really be cooking before I get home. And we used to go down this little road to get to our house and I would hear him playing the keyboard, and he used to play like Elton John, like Nikita and like all the tracks like that. Toto Africa.
What track that is. Amazing.
Oh, what tune. And he used to play it all. And I remember going home, sitting and watching my dad. And I said, Dad, like, who taught you? They went, no one taught me that. I just sit down, I listen to the record, I go, and then I go to the keyboard. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Got it now. And that's how I used to, and I watched him do that so many times. I just learned to do it myself. And that's the one thing. My dad couldn't read music. I learned to read music and everything, but I kind of got that. I got that from him, and that's something that is us. You know, is us. Dan is amazing at what he does. What he's got in here, is more than what I could probably have out here, and that's why we complement each other really well. Dan thinks it, I do it, or I do it, and Dan thinks it. So it kind of like works.
Yeah, I think we've always worked really well that way. Like I don't have the creative ability.
One day I'll sit him down at a piano and I'll show him what I know. But it's quite hard at the moment because what we do works really well together.
Yeah.
So
I just like, I don't know, I guess once I sort of plugged into, I find the things that he finds boring fascinating, and that makes me want to like do more of them. So you get quite bored sitting there tweaking acid sounds or atmospherics or taking things from film samples and chopping it up and putting it in,
I can't do that.
Track.
I can't do that.
Just finding sounds from elsewhere and all that sort of sampling process. I find that fascinating. And
Dan likes taking samples
that.
and putting it in, and that excites him. For me, it's not unique, so I don't bother. So I'd rather sit there and make something myself, and that's like, yes.
The thing is,
rather than recycling. Right, recycling, I'm not saying I'm not against recycling, but for me, it just doesn't make me excited.
But the interesting thing is, so many people come up to us, they're like, how do you make your acid sounds? That's like, well, you know.
Yeah, well, most of them we do actually make.
Right.
But some of the little ones subtle in the mix are recycled ones that we've used from previous tracks. Or some of the old tracks we mentioned earlier, there might be a big Swiss sound just.
And I can't imagine our tracks sounding the way they do without them or without that kind of contribute. Right.
If it was just his chops,
it wouldn't make sense. And if it was just
musical stuff,
his would work because it has the soul to it, it has the music element to it. But it would sound like 2003 trance, 2004 trance kind of thing, and it on a dance floor it wouldn't work as well.
In today's
once you start making your sound And let's say our sound sort of came around like 4 or 5 years ago with the way, with fascination over here, with getting all those little atmospherical sounds and acid sounds and chopped up bits and stuff. And then in the main breakdown, you have that real amazing soulful connection with the beautiful vocals and chord progressions. It's like if we just suddenly made a track that didn't have those elements to it, it wouldn't feel like a Neptune Project track. If you sort of get what I mean with that.
Yeah, I do get what you mean, because it's all together, like the whole feeling of the track itself.
Right. And you can listen to our tracks, and I think they are quite distinctive. You get those, you can hear in the intro that it's like, this sounds like a Neptune Project track because it's got all those sort of elements. But if you just fast forward to the break, you might be able to still tell it's a Neptune Project track because of the way the break sounds and the vibes of the break. And yeah, there's a lot of artists out there that are making different sort of styles and different aliases and stuff, but we just love making what we love. And it's always been that way, really. We've never once been like, let's go and make a techno track or a psytrance track or something like that. It's just like, let's just carry on making what we love, because for us, it's, if we love it, we really hope that other people will love it. And it's generally been a case of, if we love it, people seem to connect to it. So it's always a case of getting it to a point where we're really, really happy with it. And then the rest seems to just sort of fall into place so far.